In the headlines, CBN raises interest rate to 17.5%, insists on January 31st deadline for old Naira notes. Internally displaced persons in Maiduguri express frustration over inability to collect PVCs as deadline looms. Police launch investigation into abduction, killing of Imo local government area boss. And on the foreign scene, authorities in South Sudan declare emergency after killing of 4 people. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Hello and welcome once again. Now, members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria have voted to increase the interest rate from 16.5% to 17.5%. The committee noted that the increase is aimed at fighting inflation. The MPC also retained the cash reserve ratio of 32.5% and the liquidity ratio at 30%. The CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, in his post-MPC briefing said the marginal drop in inflation figures was not enough to celebrate. He noted that members were unanimous in their decision to upwardly review the interest rate. Meanwhile, the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, said the CBN will not extend the January 31st deadline for the old Naira notes. Emefiele stated the Apex Bank's position at the Post-Monetary Policy Committee briefing in Abuja on Tuesday. He said the Apex Bank has so far mopped up about 1.5 trillion naira and is hoping to achieve about 2 trillion naira before the deadline. And the Senate again has asked the Central Bank of Nigeria to immediately extend the deadline for the withdrawal of old Naira notes from circulation to July 31st, 2023. The Apex Bank had on December 15th commenced circulating newly redesigned 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira notes and set January 31st, 2023 as the deadline for the withdrawal of old notes. The Red Chamber had in December 2022 directed the CBN to extend the deadline, but the resolution was shunned by the Apex Bank. This had caused panic in many parts of the country as the deadline draws nearer, with thousands, especially those in rural areas, storming banks to exchange the old notes with new ones. Senators, during debate on a motion by Sadiq Suleiman Umar at Tuesday's plenary, said the new notes were not enough in circulation, warning that if the deadline was not extended, there would be chaos in many parts of the country. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives on Tuesday resolved to invite deposit money banks, also known as commercial banks, to over the scarcity of the new Naira notes. The managing directors and chief executive officers of banks under the auspices of Bankers Committee are to meet with an ad hoc committee of the House to be chaired by the Majority Leader Alhassan Ado Dogua this Wednesday. The House at the plenary on Tuesday resolved that banks should be invited to explain the alleged supply shortage from the Central Bank of Nigeria, after which the lawmakers would invite the leadership of the Apex Bank for questioning. The House further resolved that the window for swapping old notes with new ones should be extended by 6 months. The resolution followed the unanimous adoption of a motion of urgent public importance moved by a member of the House from Katsina State, Sarah Soli, at the opening of the session. Internally displaced persons in Maiduguri have lamented the non-completion of their PVCs and lack means of transportation to travel to their local governments for voting during the 2023 elections. Muna IDP camp is the only camp yet to be shut down after the state government had declared all camps closed. Beatrice Kurizi has more.
Since the closure of all IDP camps in Maiduguri, Muna al-Barnawi camp remains open till this day. As the elections draw nearer and collection of PVCs still ongoing, Trust TV found out that not all IDPs have collected their PVCs. According to them, they will be voting at their local governments and not in the capital city of Maiduguri. Ahmed Chigwal says he and his family will cast their ballot on the election day despite lingering fears and security threats in some parts of Mafa local government. He said those who are yet to have theirs were told to get them at their local government councils.
Some of
us are afraid of going back home to vote. Like recently, some farmers were kidnapped, but I'm still going to vote because we know the polling unit will be safe. They will be provided with security. We were told that we will be voting in our local government, and so we should go to pick our PVCs there. But they are supposed to finish the PVC distribution here. You have to transport yourself to your local government to get the PVC, and some of us don't have money to do that. Government should make it easier for us to get the PVC. With the 2023 elections expected to usher in a new government, they have lists of expectations.
I
want the government to resettle us because the children are not supportive. They only play and learn nothing. Even the farming we do, they don't know how to do it. So until we are in our hometown, they will become more productive.
We will want the government to build schools, build hospitals, create jobs for us, and most especially provide farmers with implements and seedlings.
The 2023 elections, which will see resettled IDPs in their communities participating at the polls after 13 years of insurgency, will be a confirmation that the worst of terrorism in the area has come and gone.
The Nigeria Immigration Service, NIS, has received equipment to promote service delivery, especially as regards to border security, as the nation gears up for the general elections. The equipment was donated by the NIS to the NIS by the management of IHS Towers Nigeria, an international telecoms infrastructure company. While receiving the equipment, the NIS Controller General Isa Jiri Idris said the donation came at the right time when the country is preparing for the general elections, adding that the service had the responsibility to ensure the closure of the borders and protect the integrity of the polls. The CG promised that the equipment, which included 25 Motorola high-performance base stations, 155 walkie-talkies and other high-performance communication gadgets, will be put to the best use, especially during the general elections. Earlier, the CEO of the company, Muhammad Darwish, who made the donation at the service's headquarters in Abuja, stated that his organization had been working closely with the telecom industry in Nigeria for the past 21 years and had provided employment to over 40,000 Nigerians, both directly and indirectly. Now to security matters, where the police in Imo State on Monday confirmed that a technical investigation has commenced into the abduction and killing of the sole administrator of the Idiato North local government area. Police Public Relations Officer Henry Okoye, in a statement, said the command is aware of the video that has gone viral on social media. Okoye explained that in the video, a man suspected to be the abducted Idiato North local government sole administrator is seen kneeling down, his hands tied and made to undergo an inhuman act. The command called on the people of Idiato North community and the general public to remain calm and go about their lawful businesses, as the police and other security agencies are working to forestall any future occurrence. So with us on Trust TV News Update, still ahead. Reintroduced park and pay policy generates reactions among Abuja residents. Details of this and more after the break. Do stay with us.
Daily Trust presents 20th Daily Trust Dialogue. Theme: Interrogating the 2023 Presidential Agenda. Panelists: Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika, former Chairman, First Bank of Nigeria. Professor Jibrin Ibrahim, Professor of Political Science and member of the Board of the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD. Dr. Yetunde Anibaba, Lecturer, Analysis of Business Problems, Lagos Business School. Dr. Eugene Enahoro, Human Capacity Development Specialist and CEO, Heltoni Services Limited. Chairman of the event, John Cardinal Onaikon, Archbishop Emeritus of Abuja. Royal Father of the Day, Alhaji Samaila Muhammad, MFR, Serkin Karshi, Abuja. Date, Thursday, 25th January 2023. Time, 10 a.m. Venue, NAF Conference Center and Suites, Gwarimpa Expressway, near Next Shopping Mall, Kado, Abuja. For sponsorship and branding participation, contact 081 00 49 1948, 081 65 32 0660, or 080 33 92 8902. The event will be broadcast live on Trust TV. The July 1966 counter-coup that toppled the first military government of General Agui Ironsi has one living witness. His ADC, then Lieutenant Sani Bello, was with him that fateful morning in Government House, Ibadan. For the first time, now Colonel Sani Bello, former military governor of Kano State and multi-millionaire businessman, speaks to Trust Television on how Ironsi and his host, Colonel Fajui, lost their lives and how he survived to tell the story.
As we were jumping to the Land Rover, we had a machine gun fire. Dada rushed back. What happened, Sabijo? So he was trying to run away. And we shot him. Who was it? Fajui. They killed Fajui.
Catch up on this bit of living history on Trust Television on Saturday, 28th January between 8 and 9 p.m. and in Sunday Trust, 29th January.
That's great.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Update. Now let's take another look at our top stories. CBN raises interest rates to 17.5%, insists on January 31st deadline for old Naira notes. Internally displaced persons in Maiduguri express frustration over inability to collect PVCs as deadline looms. And moving on to other news now. Ahead of the 2023 general elections, potential voters have continued to visit local government headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, across Nasarawa State for the collection of their permanent voter cards. Abubakar Abdullahi, who sent in this report, said some of the potential voters left the offices of INEC with disappointment as they could not get theirs at the time of their visit. The report is presented from our studio.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, continued to register prospective voters after the 2019 general elections and suspended the process late last year to enable it process and issue the permanent voter cards to potential voters. Having commenced the issuance of PVCs, INEC extended the deadline for the collection of permanent voter cards by 1 week precisely to end on 29th January 2023 rather than 22nd January 2023 as earlier scheduled. Some of the potential voters who were at the offices of the Commission in Lafia said they could not get their PVCs but appreciated the process as, according to them, the Commission has given them another date to return for the collection before the deadline.
I came to collect my PVC. They told me that my own has not been come, that I should come on Friday. Inside there's no people there. Those that come and take their own, there's no stress there. They just came and pick their own and go. I went there, they told me that the side they didn't see my own. They told me to come back on Friday.
Last year, around August, September, I collected it and they said we should come back later, October, December. So I went last week to collect mine and they said it wasn't ready, that I should come back. And I'm here, I've collected mine. Wait, should they send my bag? So I'm actually very happy that I've collected on my PVC and I'm ready to vote.
Well, direct from the INEC office, local government INEC office. And sincerely, there was no stress, no queue. I am very happy that I just came in, gave them my slip, and it was handed over to me.
On the PVC collection in the entire state, sources from the State Office of INEC said a significant number of potential voters have obtained their PVC across the state.
So far, we have some uncollected PVC. As at the count of yesterday, we have given out almost about close to 20,000. So there are a couple of cards remaining, about 6,000 or so. Though we are still expecting the last batch of the cards in a week's time or so. Because weekly, commission staff goes to most of these information centers, the press centers, and then give out this information out to the public.
Trust TV observed that regular media enlightenment by INEC is making it easy for the potential voters to locate the PVC collection centers in the state, though thousands of PVC sent to these offices are still in possession of INEC, waiting for owners to come and claim them.
That report was put together by Abubakar Abdullahi from Nasarawa. Now, over 30 people are feared dead following an outbreak of diphtheria in Kano State. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibrin reports that affected families are still mourning the death of their loved ones, while several others are still in the hospital. The report.
Sanusi Shaibu in Ungogoloku government area of Kano State is mourning the death of his son 2 days after he's been infected. He says one other is currently in the hospital receiving treatment.
He started with a fever. I then took him to pharmacist. They gave him some drugs. Later we came back home and the fever still continued. So I took him to the hospital. After I went to the hospital, they advised me that I should take it to another hospital where they normally treat people with such kind of disease. So the very day I took him to that particular hospital, it was the day he died.
According to residents of this area, several other people have lost their lives in the last few days, and it appears the outbreak is spreading further despite efforts to contain it.
She started from being very lazy, later on with a fever. Then I took her to the hospital. They gave her some drugs. We came back, but we couldn't go back to the hospital because she could not eat. Blood started coming out from her mouth, and later she died. He woke up with a swollen neck, and then after I saw that, I took him to the hospital. They gave him some drugs, and then we came back home. We thought it was just a normal disease that we used to see in Hausaland. So we keep on doing traditional medicine up to the time he died. Then people started telling us that it was a different kind of disease called diphtheria.
Experts say children are more vulnerable to diphtheria, but even adults who have not been properly vaccinated are also at risk of being infected.
Staying in an overcrowded location with people coughing, one is putting him or herself at risk. And the second thing is the issue of sanitation. Coming into contact with someone or maybe an object that has a deposit of the diphtheria bacterium, without proper sanitation, hand hygiene, one will also be at risk. So, and then with the weather now, the season, it's a very cold time. And then with that, people come down with a lot of flu. So the thing is, people shouldn't take it for granted.
At the moment, doctors say over 100 people have so far been infected in Kano, and that the number of death toll may likely increase in the next coming days. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
The Federal Capital Territory Administration has concluded arrangements to reintroduce park and pay policy. The objective of the policy is to guarantee safety of cars and curtail the indiscriminate parking of vehicles in the city. In this report, Noel Sampson gets more clarification on the reintroduced policy and plays the devil's advocate for concerned FCT residents. The report.
This is the second coming of the park and pay policy. In 2014, the scheme was in place but was resisted by residents who decried the high-handedness of operatives and also queried the ownership of companies being used for ticketing and enforcing. The matter ended up in a court, and in a judgment that lasted over 1 hour, Justice Peter Afen held that though the park and pay policy might be described as an excellent policy, it lacked the backing of the law. After the FCT had gone to do its homework and put in place relevant legislations, the park and pay policy is back. But beyond legislation, the FCT administration has embarked on various measures aimed at addressing the concerns raised by the court and the public. While some FCT residents are pacified, others are still uncomfortable with the policy.
There's some places that the thing will work, like hotel. Inside the hotel, fine, it's making sense. But a place where that outside, that like somebody just park a car and say you should pay, it doesn't make sense. You know, there's so many, we are facing so many challenges in the country.
I think it's a good development. My only problem would be if people will not abuse it. Like maybe when you allow people to pay, to park, at the end, if they are giving them 1 hour, they will not come in 1 hour and it will bring argument and all of that.
It's a very good one. I mean, for the fact that it provides order within the roadside and all that. So I really think it's a good one. So whatever the advantage is in terms of getting money and all that, it's none of my concern, but for the fact that it provides order within the road, so I think it's a very good one.
The Director of Traffic Management, FCT, Wadata Liu, however, gives reassurance that the reintroduction of the policy has advantages to the general public.
The plan reintroduction is not actually 100% revenue based. We are looking at the safety of road users who are going to be the greatest beneficiary in this scheme, either directly or indirectly. For example, we are starting at Garikiwang, Garikitu, Wuse, and Maitama. These are the areas where we want to start for now, and then much later we can now go into other areas of the city.
It is expected that when the policy starts, those who park their cars illegally will exercise more restraint and curtail the careless stationing of their cars. This will allow cars to be in safe with security agencies, thereby making the owners comfortable that their cars will not be stolen. Noel Sampson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And as the world marks the 2023 International Day for Education, UNICEF has called on the federal government to improve the welfare for teachers nationwide. UNICEF made the call at a media tour to commemorate the day in Makudi. It added that taking the right to education for children seriously will drastically reduce the number of out-of-school children in Nigeria. It also worried that over 240 million children globally lack literacy and numeracy skills, hence the need for Nigeria to encourage early education in schools across the country.
Children are the laying foundation of our education, and we have been supporting children to ensure that they learn how to read and write, because the world cannot move without education. So we must give children all the support necessary to ensure that our children will read and write, because in the future they will become leaders of positivity. Yeah, government has been doing her best to improve education, and my call upon the government is to facilitate or to encourage the welfare of the teachers, because when teachers are well cared of, they will provide all the necessary support of them.
But now, the coming of the term, so we really appreciate, we see that the learners have already changed tremendously. We really very appreciate it. Advice to the children. So, my advice to the children, so let them put more effort let them pay attention to what they are doing possible. That's my advice.
President Muhammadu Buhari has constituted a 14-man steering committee to find a lasting solution to the disruptions in the supply and distribution of petroleum products in the country. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dimitri Silva, disclosed this in a statement issued in Abuja, adding that President Buhari is to personally chair the committee, while Silva serves as alternate chairman. Other members of the committee are the Minister of Finance, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Petroleum Resources, National Economic Advisor to the President, Director General, Department of State Services, Controller General of Nigeria Customs Service, Chairman, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and Commandant General, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, among others. The steering committee is expected to, among other things, ensure transparent and efficient supply of distribution of petroleum products across the country. And now for a look at the foreign scene, where authorities in South Sudan have declared a month-long state of emergency after armed men opened fire on a bus station on Monday, killing at least 4 people. Officials in South Kordofan province said the attack in the provincial capital of Kadugli wounded at least 4 others. South Kordofan's acting provincial governor Musa Geba Mahmoud described the attack as unfortunate, pledging that local authorities will spare no efforts to regain security and stability in the province. He said the state of emergency took effect on Monday across the southern province on the border with South Sudan. No group immediately claimed responsibility for the attack, which took place as the victims were heading to areas controlled by a rebel group known as the Sudan People's Liberation Movement North. And that wraps up Trust TV News Update for this hour. Don't forget, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.